By golly. Oh, gosh. Well, one thing I could talk about is that being with you, I'm recognizing how much we still do not know, and that you're shedding a lot of light on this stuff. You're still creating new knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People didn't know that about, the diameters of the pelvis or the fetal rotation, how to match them with birth position. So we do our birth position choices. Of course, the person giving birth does it by either instinct or self-protection, trying to freeze or trying to flee, fight or flight or freeze. Then that interrupts our instincts. We can't count on instinct alone today because it's been interrupted from childhood. People aren't able to follow their instincts. They have to sit in the chair and do their studies. So I systemized how do we open the diameter here? Yes, it's a little bit formulaic, but we can help resolve persistent posterior, deep transverse arrest, asyncliticism, shoulder dystocia, entrapped breech head, trapped arms, all that by how taking away the randomness of the birth position and doing some things intentionally. We can get another centimeter. We can nutate the symphysis. We can move an ischial spine. We can move the sacrum,
Wow.
etc., etc.
You're amazing.
And then rotate the baby if we need to, manually, sometimes in breech or shoulders.
And we haven't known that.
It's actually all there in the literature, but people just didn't connect the dots. I don't know why. In 500 years, nobody connected the dots.
Yeah.
Of course, there's midwives here and there that were more spatial, more understanding, and everybody who's practiced a long time has their favorite birth position that works most of the time. But they don't always know why it works, and they certainly don't know why it's not working when they apply it to a situation where the baby is not in that part of the pelvis.
Yeah.
Now we tuck the tailbone under to open the top of the pelvis, and we aim the tailbone out in the same way that if you're peeing in the woods, you want to avoid peeing on your shoes, you flip your tailbone back. And everybody
that's
knows
why
how
I've
to
always
pee
had
outdoors.
wet shoes. Yeah.
And that squat opens the lower part of the pelvis. So when we see the baby's head, bring the tailbone back. But when we're trying to help baby engage, bring the tailbone under. And
So as a midwife, when you're assisting, do you ask people to make that kind of a...
I do.
shift?
In fact, I did last night with a breech baby who was trying to engage, and labor was going on, down, 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 down. The mother was getting a little bit like, I'm getting really tired. And she was rubbing her hips. So I knew the baby was high. There was no signs that the baby was low. And you could tell from the contraction pattern and where was she touching her body afterwards to move the stagnation out. So I recommended tucking the tailbone in, maybe lifting the belly, and a little bit of a knee bend, not much.
You've got to show me what you mean by tucking the tailbone in.
So we have this lumbar,
Yeah.
and we want to flatten it. And now I've moved the sacral promontory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Into a pelvic tilt. So
Yeah, that's a posterior pelvic tilt.
Yeah.
Now, to help a baby engage, flatten that. And for 3 contractions, the baby dropped down. That's all it took, 3 contractions. She was like, whoa, that was a strong contraction. I'm going to lay down, take a break. So she laid down, took a break for a while. Contractions went away for a while.
And she must have felt so much confidence that she was totally in tune with her body. And with your help, she was free.
So.
She was free to tune in, because for a lot of people it would be scary to tilt your pelvis kind of in opposite. Yeah, it might hurt more or something, or you might dread it.
It changes. So you feel that pressure high out at the hips, up in the middle back, maybe on the pubic bone, but not in this case. And then you tuck your tailbone in, and now the pressure goes down onto your cervix. So in a breech, the hips engage. In a head down baby, the baby comes down and applies to the cervix.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that labor is going to progress once the baby's applied to the cervix. Right? That just means symmetrical on the cervix. And that's down around 0 station. And in this case, once the baby engaged, contractions spread out, she could lay down and take a rest. But when she got up again, they were right there in active labor.
Now tell me something. How often would you do a vaginal exam?
So she had about an 8-pound breech baby with no vaginal exam. Why did we do no vaginal exam? Well, her water was broke, but a breech baby could startle, so we don't like to do that. Do they startle? They can sometimes. And then at each stage of our questioning, or at each time we had a question, we could assess different things. What was her movement pattern? What was her release in her body? What positions was she doing? Where was she feeling? And what was the timing and the length of the contractions? And when it got time to answer the question, where's baby? I assessed these things, and I saw that we had a pattern that showed the baby was high. And so I asked her to do a technique for 3 contractions that would bring the baby deeper into the pelvis. We saw the external signs. We did a position change to respond to the external signs. And then we saw progress. I guess that's the way I do it, because I do that in birth after birth. But I will do a vaginal exam if things don't match. We have confusing signals, or there's a politically tense situation and I have to know her VBAC. I might want to know a baseline. But once the water's broke, I don't want to do it. So you just navigate the space available.
Well, you seem to have eyes within the womb. I don't know if that's something people can cultivate.
Yes, because what you see on the outside tells you what's going on the inside. And you have to, I always say, know the pelvis like you know your sock drawer at midnight. So if you're a midwife and you're going out to a birth and you don't want to wake up your partner, you leave the light off and you reach into your sock drawer and you know where your underwear are and where your good fuzzy socks are. And you get those and you go put them on in the other room, right?
Now, I don't see how that applies to the fetus.
Because well, because if you have to reach into the pelvis, you have to know, here's the symphysis, here's the sacrum, here's the sock, and here's the underwear. You would give a rhetorical question, and I would go study that for years.
And get the answers.
Yeah, you'd say, what about the 7-centimeter stall? Now somebody has to figure out asynclitism. What do we need to know about persistent posterior? You know, and I would go and tune into those babies.
Boy, oh boy.
Well, you're a very inspiring teacher.
Well, I'm glad I am. If I inspired
thousands
you.
and thousands of people.
No.
And everywhere I go, when your name comes up, people get teary, and they say, and they tell the story of how they spent time with you.
Those are some nice memories.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, this was very sweet. Thank you, Penny.
No.